Well, hello everyone. Matt Williamson here at Williamson NFL. What is going on? Real simple show today. The Steelers 30 visits are complete. I have the full list. Last time we're going to bring this up more or less and just buzz through them. What does it mean? But I wanted to start with one thing, and I don't want to look too much into this, but since Omar Khan has taken over, the Steelers' first-round pick, now it's only 3 times, this will be the 4th, has been a visitor. He has been on this list. The 3 first picks that they've made all came in for visits. Now, I don't know that that's required. I don't think it is. I mean, I think there's guys that they probably know plenty about that they would definitely take at 21. And we'll buzz through these guys. There's only about 3, 4, 5 names that are first-round prospects. Now, that doesn't mean their first pick has to be one of those names. But I did want to address that. Let's start with the quarterbacks, though, because I really think there's a theme here. Drew Aller, Penn State. Cole Payton, North Dakota State. Carson Beck, Miami. Taylon Green, Arkansas. So, to me, one is kind of not like the other. I think they're all mid-round picks. Maybe you could convince me to take one of these guys at the very, very end of round 3. But I don't think I'd consider any of them until the 4th round for the Steelers. Probably with 4 or 5 picks already in the bag if they happen to trade up or whatever. But Beck is the one that's kind of not like the others. Because I just don't see immense physical tools with him. He's got a below average arm. Quick release. Bigger body, though. All these guys are bigger bodies. That's definitely a theme. Beck's played a lot of football, though, and I kind of just think his ceiling is really capped compared to these other guys, where Aller, Payton, and Green all have some high-end traits. Green and Payton I like much better than Aller, but they're all big. They can all throw the ball really hard, really far. They're all good athletes, although I think Aller is an overrated athlete. I mean, people are like, oh, he reminds me of Josh Allen. No, he doesn't. I also don't think he has a real natural feel for the position. But I can see what they're doing here in that if you take one, we'll just call it the 4th round, not Beck, but you take one and you say, boy, let's bring him along really slowly under some Rodgers tutelage. And maybe we steal one in the mid-rounds for our long-term starter if the planets align. And I like that logic. I also think there's a chance they don't take any of these guys or a quarterback at all, or maybe just one like in the 6th round and, bring him to camp type guy. So let's go to wide receivers, because a couple of these dudes could be in the first-round mix. Mekhi Lemon from USC and Denzel Boston of Washington in particular. I think Lemon will be gone, but maybe they love him to the point where he falls to 16 and you make a move to go get him. I'd understand that, no doubt. Boston seems to be getting a little bit of helium. Maybe he could be in the mix at 21, but I think he's probably a little closer to what if you trade down 3 or 4 picks. I like both players. The other receivers they brought in are Jeremy Bernard, Alabama. I think he'd be very much in the 2nd round mix. Tough guy. Fits the coaching staff, in my opinion. Skylar Bell from UConn. I think that's a 3rd round pick, a little bit smaller. Kendrick Law from Kentucky is probably a 4th round pick later. 5th, I would say. And Jeff Caldwell from Cincinnati is also probably a 5th or 6th round pick that was an extreme tester. I would think Law or Caldwell would be your 2nd wide receiver drafted, where Bernard or Bell might be your 1st if you go another direction earlier. So that group of receivers totally adds up to me. I think exactly, I can understand exactly what they're thinking in that process.
Yeah, the NFL season's done, but is it ever really? You can still bet online with America's best sports betting site, the FanDuel Sportsbook. That includes all current sports, all of this summer's coming sports, and hey, for what it's worth, you can get in on NFL action toward the 2026 season already. Never a dull moment, never an inactive moment. The best place to bet on sports, play online games, build your fantasy team is at FanDuel.
If you're hiring, you want a candidate who's passionate about your role, but you can't get that insight from a resume unless you post your job on ZipRecruiter. They have a new feature that shows you first the most qualified, interested people, makes the process way faster. Candidates can tell you in their own words why they're interested in your job specifically. On ZipRecruiter, you can find people who really want your job. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. They've also brought in 5 cornerbacks. So they brought in 6 receivers. That's the most position group. 5 cornerbacks. Chris Johnson from San Diego State. Traylon Stukes from Arizona. Malik Muhammad from Texas. Takario Davis from Washington. And his teammate, Ephesians Prysock from Washington. Let's start with these 2 Washington dudes because they're really similar. Really raw, really tall, really fast, really long. That adds up to me too, because I think that's like 4th round neighborhood for those guys. You pretty much already have 5 corners on the roster that are pretty darn close, guaranteed to make the team. So maybe, kind of like the quarterback conversation, you get a really toolsy, good-looking athlete and see what happens a year from now. Just groom them, redshirt them, go from there. Malik Muhammad, I think would go ahead of those guys. That's probably a 3rd round pick. I can see them liking him. I mean, quality prospect. Probably projects as a 2 if he's really fortunate. Probably more like a 3 in over his career. Chris Johnson doesn't quite add up to me. Because I'm pretty certain at this point he's going to go in the 1st round. But later than 21. And again, is he going to compete for playing time now? Probably not. Stukes is really interesting, though, because he could easily be listed as a safety on this list. And I think he has some deep middle capabilities, really athletic. But he is listed as a corner because I think he's going to be one of these bigger slot type guys, versatile defensive back. I like him a ton. I'm guessing he's not there at 53, and I'm certain that I would not take him at 21. But if you're maneuvering around the board, and I could write a story where he ends up in being a Pittsburgh Steeler, I suppose. They also brought in 5 linebackers. Kyle Lewis from University of Pittsburgh. That's a local one, but maybe they'd be interested anyway. Yeah, because a lot of these guys are similar in terms of where they're slotted. Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech, Jack Kelly from BYU, Harold Perkins from LSU, and then another local one is Jaden Duggar from Louisiana, which might be like a 7th round type throwaway pick, special teamer, undrafted free agent, something like that. But the other 4 interest me. Rodriguez, I think, will be a 2nd round pick. High quality football player. I think he's going to be a starter. I definitely think he's going to be a starter. I think he could be a high quality starter. Lewis is somebody you may have seen. Undersized. Some people think he can be the big slot. Nickel linebacker. All these dudes, especially Kelly, Perkins, Lewis, have heavy special teams value, obviously. Lewis flies around the field, just small for linebacker. Kelly's also another good tester that you'd think about 4th round or so. Perkins is really interesting because he's had a weird career at LSU. Edge rusher turned linebacker. All the above, neither. Good football player, though. Productive, well thought of. Yeah, I can see that. They brought in 3 tackles and 3 guards. The tackles are day 1, day 2 guys. Spencer Fano from Utah. I think he would be your immediate left guard today. Probably could play all 5 positions. Great athlete, short arms. I don't know that he'd even make it to 21. I lean towards no. The other 2 are guys I like a lot as like a 3rd round gigantic tackle only types, and that's Travis Burke from Memphis, Markel Bell from Miami. Maybe you go wide receiver in round 1, pure guard in round 2, take one of these tackles in the 3rd round and just let them kind of marinate for a while. The guards they brought in, especially the top 2 here, I would think are projected starter types. Well, they definitely are. Venga Ione from Awane from Penn State would be my probably favorite 1st round pick for the Steelers. I'm sure you're familiar with him by now. We've talked about him quite a bit. Plug and play left guard. Could be a all-pro type guy. Somebody you'd consider trading up for. Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech. Maybe he makes it to the 53rd pick. He seems to have a lot of steam right now, too. Really interesting, starting, nasty guard type. And Bo Stevens from Iowa. Mid-round pick, but I sure like the idea of like guard from Iowa. They just seem to make it in this league. And it'd be kind of a consolation prize and throw him in the mix probably with Anderson, or maybe you went tackle in the 1st round and then you got guard. I don't know. But I could see where there'd be interest there. I think it's interesting they brought in 3 tight ends, although Khalil Dinkins from Penn State was a local, so he was a freebie. But Will Kuzmarek from Ohio State and Marlon Klein from Michigan. They're going to draft a tight end. It's a great tight end class. It's a super deep tight end class. I think both those types you'd look at like 4th, 5th round or value spot in the draft. Both have some upside. Kazmarek was really the blocking tight end at Ohio State, more so than the receiver. And then they'll throw their tight ends a lot. Klein has a lot of upside. He's got a very athletic background. I think he could be a better pro than college player. So I like the tight ends that they're looking at, and the idea makes a ton of sense to me. The next position, 2 safeties and 2 D linemen to wrap things up here. The safeties, Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo is kind of like the Johnson conversation we had at corner. Doesn't quite add up to me because maybe he falls out of the 1st round, but there's no way he falls to 53. And I can't take a pure safety, especially more of a strong safety that he is, in the 1st round for the Steelers. Even if you were to trade back to 25, 26, there'd be too many good receivers and O-linemen for my liking. So I don't quite understand that one. Maybe there's some kind of smoke screen involved. I don't know. And then Jacoby Thomas from the U, from Miami. Mid-round pick, be a great special teamer, depth piece, has some versatility. Okay, I could see him landing on the Steelers early day 3. And then the 2 D linemen are Darrell Jackson from Florida State and James Thompson Jr. from Illinois. All I know about Thompson, to be honest, is he's a late guy. I mean, he's a day 3 for sure, 6th, 7th round pick type of dude. Maybe they had some kind of medical question on him that I don't know about. I don't know. I didn't do a lot of homework on him. He's not super highly regarded. Darrell Jackson is interesting in that, boy, he's beautiful. I mean, he is humongous with rare wingspan, gigantic heavy hands, extreme power, lots of ability, but really frustrating to watch on tape. I mean, he has some of that McCullers 1 out of 10 reps is good. You know what I mean? And when it's good, it's wow. Oh, he has that in his body, but why don't we see it all the time? There's a lot of times he stands straight up with bad pad level and lower body stiffness and not bent at the knees or waist bends. But if Cam Hayward would grab this dude by the neck and be like, hey, this is what we do around here. And I'm not even saying he's unmotivated, but on tape he can look unmotivated. And I don't know that his stamina or, ability to play a lot of snaps is definitely not his strength. But I see the allure, and they definitely want long-armed, taller defensive linemen, batting down passes, giants in the middle, and he qualifies as that. But my hunch is he's way more of a tease than he is, this diamond in the rough type guy. So that's who they brought in. Some of them are first-round prospects, as we talked about. So maybe it is Boston, Lemon, Venga, somebody like that they brought in. But I would not be married to that idea at this point. But I think it's an interesting list, and I think there's a lot of context clues there from what we can, from that list we've read about. Take care.